Welcome back. We just heard from a Democratic lawmaker. Joining me now for the view from the other side of the aisle, chair of the Republican Conference, Congresswoman Lisa McClain of Michigan. Congresswoman McClain, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, we really appreciate your being here. I do want to get to the shutdown in just a moment.
Sure.
But first, I want to ask you about President Trump's social media post. Got a lot of attention today. He said he wants Chicago's Mayor Johnson and Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker to be jailed. Congresswoman, do you agree with that language?
Listen, if somebody commits a crime, I think they should be put in jail. So I think what the president's trying to do, and I don't want to speak for him, is, again, I think he's just trying to get everybody's attention. Listen, we need to get back to law and order. We need to get back to safe communities. That's really what we need to focus on here, is let's do what we can to make our communities safer.
Just very quickly, though, as far as you know right now, given the information that's publicly available, do you think that Mayor Johnson and J.B. Pritzker have committed a crime?
Yeah, I'm not the judge, I'm not the jury, so I really don't want to comment on that, but I don't know. I'd say let the process play out. I believe in due process, and let's see where it takes us.
Let me ask you, because according to our reporting, apparently there's some real consideration of invoking the Insurrection Act inside the White House. We've heard President Trump was asked about it, has talked about it a little bit. Would you be comfortable with that, or do you think that takes his law enforcement efforts too far?
You know, I think our ladder's on the wrong wall on this when we talk about this. Listen to what we're talking about. We have cities that are so violent right now that you think in America it looks like a third world country. What we should be doing is having a conversation about how to make these cities safer, right? I'm not a big proponent of defunding the police. I'm not a big proponent of bringing the National Guard. We shouldn't have to do that. But yet here we are because ICE agents are getting shot at. That shouldn't happen in America. Yet it is, and it's extremely unfortunate. What we should be doing is we should be making sure that our cities are safe, and if we can't keep them safe, we should be asking for help, like what happened in D.C., right? I live in D.C. My daughter lives in D.C. Unfortunately, since we had to send the National Guard into D.C., unfortunately, crime rates and murder rates have gone down dramatically. I mean, we're celebrating a fact that we went 11 days without having a murder in D.C. Really, that's what we're celebrating? We need to get back to law and order.
And it's just worth noting crime rates had been actually dropping in D.C. before the Guard was sent in. They're actually down in Chicago, 23% overall violent crime, 46.7% homicide. So just to make that point, they are dropping.
But I think you would, I don't think you would disagree with me that we still have a crime problem in Chicago. I don't think that's what you're assessing.
There's no doubt that crime is a major issue for a lot of folks all across this country. But I just want to make that point that if you look at the statistics, it actually shows crime is decreasing. I do want to go ahead, and then we'll talk about the shutdown. I was going to say, well,
let's talk about the statistics in D.C. Prior to President Trump sending the National Guard in, D.C. had a murder every other day. When the National Guard came in, we had 11 days no murders, right? And again, my point is it's still bad, right? We got to do better for the American people.
Okay, well, and the debate over what to do about it specifically continues on, but I do want to talk about the government shutdown, Congresswoman. Sure. ACA subsidies, of course, at the center of this shutdown. Your colleague, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, in an interview with my colleague Ryan Nobles, said she wants Republicans to do a better job of addressing health care. She wants Republicans to have a plan. You are in leadership. What would you tell her?
Yeah. She's right. We need to do better with health care. There is absolutely no question. We shouldn't have people who are earning $600,000 a year getting ACA subsidies. I don't think that makes sense, right? But how we do that, I disagree with your premise that this is a health care fight. This is a funding fight. This is not a health care fight. It's not an ag fight. It's not a transportation and infrastructure fight. This is a funding fight, and that's what we need to do. We need to open the government so we can have these debates to fix health care and make health care more affordable for the American people. No question about that. But we can't do that while the government's shut down.
And Democrats are arguing, look, these subsidies expire at the end of the year.
Yeah,
Kaiser
they do.
estimates the number of uninsured people in your state, Congresswoman of Michigan, would rise by about 390,000 if these tax credits expire. What do you say to your constituents who are worried they could lose coverage?
Call your Democratic senators and tell them to please vote yes on the continuing resolution that they voted on 13 times prior that funds the government at the exact same levels that they voted for, which were Democratic levels, so we can have these debates and we can fix the problem. That's what I would say to my people. Please call your Democratic senators and tell them stop holding you hostage and open up the government.
You know, I have the opportunity to interview you. I interviewed Congressman Pocan, both of you pointing fingers at each other. For the folks sitting at home watching this who are desperate for a solution for those hundreds of thousands of furloughed workers, are there any negotiations behind the scenes? Do you feel any responsibility as a part of Republican leadership to get this resolved?
Yeah, well, what I'm happy, we did our job in the House. We passed the continuing resolution so that our troops would get paid. Our people that are on WIC would continue to receive their benefits. So I'm very happy that we did our job in the House to pass a continuing resolution to make sure the government was open. Now it's in the hands of the Senate, and you stated earlier that we had some members cross over, and I think you'll see more, especially after the 13th or the 15th, when actually workers don't receive a paycheck, which is actually devastating for those workers. We, Republicans, voted to have them get paid. But just remind everybody, the Democrats voted no to shut the government down and not let them have pay. And they're using this as a hostage situation on the backs of the American workers.
But Congresswoman, can you say that Congress is doing its job, that the House is doing its job when you are literally out of session right now? Should House Speaker Mike Johnson call everyone back so that at the very least you can negotiate and start having those urgent conversations?
So here's the issue. There's nothing to negotiate. And I think this is a very important point that gets missed. Typically, the party in charge, the party in the majority, does a CR, and what they do is they put a lot of policy riders in that CR. Usually they're partisan, right? We didn't do that. So there's nothing to negotiate. We said no gimmicks, no partisan policy riders. Let's just pass a clean CR so we can continue to govern for the American people. And what I might remind everybody is, what is everyone doing in D.C.? There's nothing to negotiate. We've negotiated. We do have this thing called a district work period, and people actually can be, and Republicans, I can share with you, are actually in their districts working for their constituents. So you don't have to be in D.C. to do your job. You actually can be in your district working, and that's a lot of what we're doing.
All right, Congresswoman Lisa McClain, I know there is a lot of urgency for the government to reopen. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We're going to go right to the president. He is taking